Welcome back, everybody, to Riding the Pine. This is Kyle Martin. Tonight, we're going to be going over Game 8 of the 2020-21 Chicago Blackhawks season. They fell in overtime once again tonight, this time in a shootout by a score of 2-1 to the Nashville Predators. And before we get to the review tonight, though, could you please do me a really big favor? Hit the like button on the video and subscribe if you have not. And also, please feel free to leave comments down below. We will interact with you. One of the things we want to get going on this podcast is interaction between Blackhawks fans and just kind of get everybody else's thoughts on the game. And I'm once again, after a little bit of a hiatus, joined by Chai sports fan Joe. Joe, how are you doing tonight?
Hey Kyle, how's everything going? Another tough one to swallow tonight. But we're in the games. We can't get that extra oomph to finish them. It seems like.
Yeah, like we had kind of talked before going on the air that it's hard for me really to really find fault with this team because they don't have an NHL caliber offense. I mean, they just don't.
Right.
I had tweeted out, I think in response to you, like when you sit down and you think about it, 5 of their top 6 forwards from last season are gone.
Right. That's what I said too. Yeah. No Taves, no Doc, no DeBrincat. No Boquist, no Seabrook, no Walmart, and and that's what I even tweeted out to have. But to get points in 5 straight games, missing, those guys, and to be through 8 games, to have a 2-3-3 record, it's pretty good. It exceeded expectations, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think, yeah, I would say they've probably exceeded my expectations a little bit so far. I think they would have probably have lost at least one of these games against Nashville, if not both of them. But that's kind of the sad part too. Is this Nashville team is not impressive whatsoever.
No, that's what I said. I mean, they dictated most of the game, but I don't think they're not a team to be afraid of.
No, and I think Rene's kind of on the way out. I think Saros, who we saw tonight, is definitely their goalie of the future, at least in the short term. But I don't know if you caught the podcast for last night's game that I did, but I, I I think Nashville's probably the third worst team in this division. Like I don't see, I think maybe you could debate whether it's them or Florida, but I mean Florida, I think the last I checked was undefeated.
Yeah.
Granted, they've only played like 3 games, maybe a fourth tonight, but yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen much from the Predators, and it seems they kind of have the same problem that the Hawks do, that they have a lack of offense. But that's interesting too because they have such more dynamic players like your Duchesnes, your Forsbergs, your Arvidssons, and they're just not scoring, I guess. But um,
Yeah, and
as
I think their
for
power play has really struggled too. I think coming into the game tonight, I think they're 20. They said they were ranked 28th, out of 30, 31 teams. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
and on that note, tonight's the first game that the Blackhawks did not record a power play goal. They had 4 opportunities, although some of them quite abbreviated. Um, that said, they did go 4 for 4 on the penalty kill, so that's a nice continued development.
right.
Um,
And to have, yeah, and like I said, like with, as being depleted as we are, to start the season, 7 games, 7 out of 8 games to get a power play goal. I mean, I think that speaks a lot of volumes too.
I think throughout the whole season, we're going to have to rely heavily on special teams, both the PK and the power play, because when you have an offense this anemic, you can't be giving up goals to the other team. And likewise, when you get power plays, you have to convert because, uh, with your offense, you've got to use that man advantage to your advantage. Obviously, it's in the word, but yeah, I mean, at the forward level tonight, I mean, Hagel was noticeable.
Yeah, Hagel
Um,
had a really good game tonight. I thought
yeah, he
so.
picked up his first assist and first point in the NHL. He got 15 minutes, just under 16 of ice time. Um, I thought Suter was noticeable at times. Kane was all over and just couldn't score. He should have ended the game in overtime. He had a
Yeah, I was like, oh man, when he missed that shot, I was
well,
like,
and Yanmark too. I mean, Yanmark's been playing really well the last few games, so that's a nice thing to see. Kubalik, again, his ice time is up 5 minutes. Over the last two games, he's up to 18 and a half minutes a game. Over this, at least this Nashville series, he had 5 shots tonight and didn't really do much of anything. Strome was a -1, took a penalty that was, I think Eddie was saying on the broadcast, wasn't a horrible penalty considering the circumstances. And then he finished at 46% at the dot. So again, not great where he was to start the season, but also wasn't those 20% that we were seeing against the Red Wings. Um, Defense, interesting. I had been talking with you, Joe, a lot about maybe rolling with 7 defensemen, and interestingly enough, Jeremy Colleton did that today.
tonight. Yeah, yep.
What did you think of? Well, I haven't talked to you in a while, so what did you think? What have you thought about Lucas Carlson, and what did you think about Bodan, who got in his first game tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was, I mean, I think you want to have, obviously, when you're so depleted on offense, you're going to have to start relying on, on your defense to kind of keep you in the games. And I like the idea of rolling with 7 defensemen. In my opinion, you can never have enough defensemen, but I mean, I thought Bodan was okay, and I thought Carlson was okay. I think they had okay games. So because I mean, Bodan, it was such a small sample size. I mean, he didn't make any glaring mistakes, at least from what I saw, and that's a positive. I think he finished with just shy of 10 minutes of ice time, and I think he was paired. Was he paired with Zadorov tonight for most of the game? I think
Who,
that's what I thought. I thought he
Carlson or Bodan?
um Bodan.
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah. So, but I think it was more or less. I just saw this. The Hawks really leaned heavily on their vets tonight on defense. I mean, Keith had 26 minutes, Murphy had 24, DeHaan had 22, and I think the next highest for a Blackhawk defenseman was Zadorov at just over 14 minutes. So, I mean, when you're going to log minutes like that, especially with those veteran guys, you're going to need to try to make up for it somewhere with maybe some younger defensemen. And I liked the idea of having 7 defensemen, and I don't know if Colleton's going to go with it going forward, but I think to me it's a positive.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen Zadorov get a little bit more than 14 minutes. Not sure why he's that low. I think you could have shaved off a minute from Keith and Murphy, both, given it to Zadorov, and then whether that 2 minutes is given to, one each to Bodan or Carlson. But I think that's, again, I think there's some stuff, I mean, we've talked about with like the bench management with the coaching staff, I think could be a little bit better. Um, DeHaan had a horrible night tonight. Just very interesting because it seems like he has a really good game and then he has follows it up with a really bad game. And like he was bad tonight. He
Yeah,
had
I don't know if maybe it just it has something to do with the back to back games.
maybe.
I don't know, but for it's always hard to gauge, especially I mean because I mean I feel like are we going to play a lot of back to backs this year? I didn't even
I don't
really.
remember how many, but I assume there's going to be at least a couple more.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's something that players really aren't used to. So, I think, but not to say it's, they're professionals, so they should know how to deal with back to backs. But, um, I mean, I would like to just see a little bit more production and, a little more, how do I put it, oomph to this, to the defense to try to spark this offense. But I know it's difficult with the offense because you really only have one line that can consistently put up offensive production. But I just liked what I saw from the fourth line though tonight. The fourth line was really good again, and that they scored the goal. So
Yeah, they've been, whether it's been Hagel or Highmore, that's been in or out of that lineup in that spot. I think they've done really well, and it kind of begs the question. It seems like Hagel's kind of supplanted Highmore at this point, which is really interesting
that's
because
what I thought because Highmore has played so well in the bubble, and
yeah.
I thought he'd get more of an opportunity. But yeah, I mean, it seems like Hagel's done a little bit better than him.
Well, and it's interesting because like I had brought it up to you, like I originally I was all for the signing with Soderberg, and he did finish at 63% at the dot, although I'm not sure how many faceoffs he took. Unfortunately, they don't publish that on the game sheet. They should start doing that. That'd be a little bit better of an indicator. But um, I don't. He's 35 years old. I mean, he had 2 hits, a block, no shots. I mean, took a penalty. What are we really getting much out of him versus playing a Highmore or someone
Yeah,
else? And again, like at the time when I was defending signing him, I was thinking, okay, yeah, this guy will probably. It was, and I believe it was. It was in response to Doc going down, and I figured, well, he'll probably jump in with Patrick Kane, and he'll. I mean, this at least several years ago when he first came up was putting up between 35 and 50 points a year. So if you put him with Kane, one would think that'll kind of boost his production, and then when Doc does come back, hopefully before the end of the year, or even if it's not before the trade deadline, you'll be able to ship Soderberg off somewhere to a team because he is kind of more of a two-way forward in your bottom 9, bottom 6. So, I figured it was a good deal, but just now with the way the team is just, it's been decimated even further to a point where it's like, do we really want Soderberg playing over Highmore or Mackenzie Entwistle or like someone else? Even like I think I'd mentioned on the show last night, like maybe you call up Brennan Peary. I mean, you need offense, right? And
right.
that's, I mean,
Right, and I'm just curious what they're gonna do with him. You reacquired him for. I would think you reacquired him to play up at the NHL level, and I know in the games he's played, he hasn't made, I guess, quite the impression we all thought he would make. But
he's only played the opener.
yeah, so
So I mean, it's hard to know what he's even capable of,
right,
really. Uh,
so yeah, but I agree. I would like to see more of Peary. Just like I said, you went out and reacquired him for a reason. So
well,
play
and
him.
he's pure offense. I mean, that's what his game is. He's a
Right.
shooter.
Right.
And your offense is struggling. So I mean, one would seem to think that if you were gonna swap somebody in at least at the forward level, he would be up there. But then again, you got to call him up, and then if you want to send him back down, he's got to clear waivers again, and that's the Hawks have an interesting roster dynamic with that right now. Which leads me, I guess we'll get to the star of the show, star of the season, which is Kevin Lankinen, who stopped 41 of 42 shots tonight for a 976. Yes, you heard that, 976 save percentage. And
Incredible.
according to Mr. Dietz over at the Daily Herald, Kevin Lankinen in his last 3 starts, which includes tonight, has stopped 91 out of 95 shots faced. That's a 958 save percentage. To put that in perspective, usually if you're at like 920, you're kind of like a Vezina finalist. So if you're at 958, good grief. I
So
mean,
that's why
obviously,
this is the guy. I mean, I think like we were talking about, Colleton has to roll with him. I mean he's proved at least in the early going he could be a number one goaltender, and like we've talked about too, he exudes confidence. He wants the weight of the team on his shoulders, and I really like that quality in him, and I think going forward, I think I would think Colleton would have to start him Friday against Columbus, but who knows? I don't know what they're gonna do, but I would think he'd be your guy going forward.
yeah, I just don't. This goalie situation, at this point, I don't even care. Like, obviously, Lankinen's your guy, so you've got to figure out if you're going to keep Delia or Subban.
Right.
And at this point, you know what? Like, if you want to get rid of Delia, get rid of Delia. I'd probably get rid of Subban, but whatever you're going to do, just do it, because this is just creating a mess. Because now you're just sitting here with Delia, who hasn't played in almost, or well, over a week now. And before it was Subban, who hadn't played almost 2 weeks. So, and I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, are you going to play, if Lankinen's the guy and he's going to get the bulk of the starts, then what are you going to do? Like, is you just going to rotate Subban and Delia as to who, plays a game? And maybe, and I'm sure at some point Lankinen's going to have a shitty game. So
Right.
maybe do you get a guy in then? I mean, whoever the backup is, but it's just like,
Yeah, I
I
mean
don't know.
it's Lincoln's net until it's Lincoln's net to lose in essence. He needs to be the one starting the majority of the games. I mean, now we're 8 games into a 56 game season, so the season's pretty much 14% complete, and at this point obviously it's a sprint, it's not a marathon, and I mean, do we expect this Blackhawks team to make the playoffs? Obviously not, but do you want to keep yourselves at least in a contention a contention mode?
I
And
don't
I
even
think
I don't even
Lincoln gives you the best chance to do it.
I don't
But
even think it's about being in contention. I mean, you want to develop your goalie, right?
right,
So, like, I mean, if this guy is the next Crawford or better than Crawford at these numbers, I mean, you want him to play and start, because that's
right,
how he's going to develop. And, a lot of people forget this. Like, Corey Crawford, the first season, his first full season in the NHL after they won the cup, was awful. Like, awful. So awful
when did
that they
he
went
did
out and
he
got
take
Marty
over? Or
Turco.
did he take over in 2011, Crawford?
It was 2010, 2011. So, I mean, it was the series they lost to Vancouver in game
Yeah,
6.
right. Okay, and that's where because did he start? I know he started, for the Hawks in that series, but did he? I can't remember if he played up until that point, or when did he officially take the reins?
Well, I mean, it was basically his nets. But from my recollection, so after that cup season, Huey had left. I think he had 1 year left on his deal, and they sent Huey to Europe. Like, they put him on a loan.
Yeah,
They let Niemi walk to San Jose, and then they brought Crawford up. And then I believe they went out and got Marty Turco to be the
yeah,
backup.
right, right. Okay,
And, well, not even necessarily the backup, but maybe even like be like a starter, and to groom Crawford to take over. And Turco was just garbage, so Crawford kind of just took over anyway. And yeah, like, he just, like, I can pull up his numbers, but I don't believe they were particularly
but
good.
yeah, that's. I mean, but right, I agree. I think the more Lincoln plays, and I think judging by his performances, the to me the better he's going to get, and So I think and honestly, Colleton has to probably see it too, that this is Kevin Lankinen's net to lose. So I hope he sees that, and that's what I would think has to be the case going forward.
So Crawford had a 917 that season. It was the following season, the sophomore slump, if you will. He was at 903, which is oof.
Yeah. Well, and then yeah, I remember in the 2012 playoffs against the Coyotes, yeah, he did not have a good series.
Yeah. So, and I think if I recall, I think the Hawks were down 3-0, 3-1 to Vancouver in that series, and they
Oh,
came
in
all the way
2011, yeah,
back.
they were down 3-0. Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Back to forcing
Campoli had his
so.
infamous, I think it was Campoli, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was
The
Chris Camp.
turnover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But yeah, Lankinen should be starting. They need to figure out what they're doing with the other two guys because they can't have
really, yeah, three
yeah,
goaltenders.
well, I guess so. We had talked about off air, like what they could do because they have to have three goalies on the active roster, whether that's two on the roster and one on the taxi squad or all three on the roster.
And is that all? Does all teams, Kyle, have to have three goaltenders this year?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So what you could do is, let's say you want to play Delia. You want Delia to play. Waive him or put him on waivers so he can clear and go to Rockford. And then you call up either Scott Darling or Matt Tompkins to be your taxi squad goalie. And then you just roll with Subban and Lincoln the rest of the way.
Right.
Because I don't, even if it's Darling, I don't think you give two shits whether he just sits in the stands, right? I mean, it's saving his career basically anyway, just to be around the team. So,
And like I just and I wish like the league would kind of like redo these waivers and I mean obviously with COVID being so prevalent, you're gonna need three goaltenders, yeah, regardless, because obviously if something happens to one, okay, well at least you got your backup. But if something happens to your backup, well then you need your third. But I think at least to have your third to try to get time, it should be like, all right, let him go play in the American Hockey League without having to worry about waivers this year. I mean, that's just my opinion, but
yeah, you would. I mean, you would think so, but and then like they have other stupid rules. So like if you claim a player off waivers that was sent to the taxi squad, you have to play them. Like because there was a team that's already had this problem. They claimed, was it Washington? Somebody claimed, was it Craig Anderson or somebody was claimed off a Canadian roster that was waived.
okay,
And then they didn't play them, so then they just waived them again. And then I think the team that waived them like can reclaim them. Eat like they're first in line to reclaim them. It's just the system is just stupid. It's like, by the way, I don't know if you caught it last night. This is just off topic from the game, but Pat Foley going through all the COVID protocols, I wanted to shoot myself. Like, there's no, I guarantee you, none of these players are doing all of that. None of them.
right,
Like,
right.
this, oh, you gotta, at the buffet or whatever, one.
Right. They were saying like, yeah, they obviously you have to wear masks. You can't go like into any shops. You can't go into any bars. You can't go into any restaurants. I mean, I don't know what you can do at the hotels. I would imagine, I don't know, but I don't know if you can, converse with other teammates. I mean, I don't think you can go into their rooms. I don't know if everything's just kind of outside in like a lobby kind of setting where everybody's spaced apart. I have no idea what the protocols are.
Yeah, well, I mean, Pat Foley was doing his Bob Bob Euchre attempt at, I guess trying to entertain us during a horrible game, but
Yeah.
a boring game. But It's like I can, dude, just shut up because like everybody knows these players are not doing all this crap. Even you can say they are, but we know they're not. And I don't know if you want to speculate or not, but Adam Boquist and Alex DeBrincat are obviously roommates.
Yeah, right.
And DeBrincat's engaged. I don't know if Boquist is dating anybody or not, but I'm wondering if maybe DeBrincat's fiance got it and then brought it into their house, and that's how they ended up getting it. But then again, we haven't talked about this yet. Lucas Walmark went down today with COVID as well.
And did he
So
played yesterday, didn't he?
no, he hasn't played in a couple
Okay.
games.
Okay, I didn't remember if he played yesterday or not. So,
No, Highmore got into the lineup yesterday,
because I was
but
gonna say, I mean, imagine now if he played yesterday and he got it, and I mean, I would think this game probably wouldn't have even been played tonight if that was the case.
well, see, that's what's interesting because Nashville's had this COVID problem already, um, and I'm just wondering, like, well, we've got three guys now. Like, if you get any more, they might pause the Blackhawks season for a while. I mean, because if I don't know, it's just we'll see. But and just with testing in general, there's so many. I mean, even the doctors, like, there's so many false positive tests that even like there you can have it and then get tested and the test doesn't show that you have it, and then because it's a false positive, and then 2 days later it says you have it and you did have it. Well, now everybody else that's been around you is infected with it too. So it's just like, I don't know, it just
Yeah,
seems,
it's such a screwy situation. Yeah.
yeah, you would think there would be a better way to do this. I don't know, but anyways, um just kind of to wrap this up, is there anything other than Lankinen that really stood out to you tonight?
Let's see. I'm reading through what I kind of took down tonight.
Obviously, the fourth line, we touched on that.
Yeah. Um, I mean, Kane really wasn't this. I mean, his I felt like his normal self these two games, but it could be, hey, Nashville targeted him and knew, hey, if we shut this guy down, it's hard to get production from anybody else. But I mean,
I
he
mean, he's
only had
just
what
missing.
36 seconds of offensive zone possession time yesterday. And I think he had 41 seconds in the first period alone today. And then he finished, I think, with a minute, like just under 2 minutes, a minute and 54 seconds, I think, with offensive zone possession time. So, I mean, I know it's hard to, put the team on your back and be the go-to, but that's what he is right now. And I feel like that's what the Blackhawks have got to try to do to try to generate some more offenses, because teams know that Kane is your lifeblood right now, and he's the engine that drives this offense. So I feel like if he gets shut down, we're kind of stuck in a lull, because yeah, the fourth line scored tonight, but how many goals are we going to really rely on from the fourth line? Not many.
Oh, if
So
Kane goes down, this team is fucked.
yeah.
Like,
So
I think, to my point, I think the point that I've been making anyway this year and then in previous years, at least the last couple, you're really seeing now why I keep saying this team is lacking elite offensive talent. Again, Dylan Strome's a good playmaker. Kubalik has a great shot. Suter is young, looks like he's going to be a really good player. Kurashev looks like he's going to be a really good player. And then the rest of the lineup is, all these kind of grinder guys. Like, you just don't have anybody that's that finesse, elite level scorer, or not just scorer, but just offensive talent. And you look at the best teams in the league, right? You got Malkin, Crosby, Gensel out in Pittsburgh. You got Matthews, Tavares, Marner out in Toronto. Um, all the good teams, right? They've all got weapons. And I mean, the Hawks just don't have that right now. And
right.
you add that in with a young defense that you're trying to bring along, and on top of that, it seems like, whether it's Duncan Keith one night or, Calvin DeHaan tonight that has a bad game coupled with, bringing the young kids along, it's just a mess. And I don't know. It's going to be like this, I think, for the next couple of years. But yeah, I think if you consider the prospects, I think offense is definitely where they need to focus, because even with Kirby Doc in the lineup and Nylander and DeBrincat, DeBrincat's, like I said, he's a playmaker. Doc's, you don't know what you're going to get from him. He's still developing. So
Yeah, I mean, but I still think, yeah, he's going to be a
yeah,
really
he's
good
going to be a
player.
stud, but
So,
you can't like figuratively think that he's going to carry the team with Kane. So
right, and then and not to be the Debbie Downer here, but and Doc, with this injury, you don't know how he's going to be coming back off of it. I mean, I hope he's
wrist
next.
injuries, like especially for a center, like he's gonna. I mean, maybe he comes back and he's awesome, but
Right, which
it's
we're all
more
hoping.
likely that he's probably going to struggle when he comes back.
Right, right. So, but yeah, I mean, who knows? The long term effects of this injury might affect him. I don't know. I hope not. I mean, I would think they have enough to where their training staff and their strength and conditioning staff obviously know how to deal with injuries and all the technology that's available now to help them even further. But it affects guys differently, and I just hope it doesn't do long-term damage to in Doc's career going forward. But time will tell with that.
I hope they keep him out the rest of the season, just to give the wrist ample time to heal, and then to let him kind of continue to develop and bulk up with his body and stuff. I don't see any reason to play him for a month of the season or whatever, that he might be ready to come back. So,
Right.
but again, let's do a preview of Friday's game in Columbus. Um, Obviously, Columbus has been in the news recently, making a pretty big trade for sending Pierre-Luc Dubois to Winnipeg for Patrick Laine and Roslovic. And by the way, the other night, when I was half out of it, I I kept calling Roslovic a defender. I don't know why, but I think it's because Columbus has been looking for defense, and that was kind of the rumor that they were looking for a defender. But yes, he's a center, I believe, or at least a forward anyway. So I don't believe Line or Roslovic will be ready to play, because I think they've got to pass through protocols first.
Their visa issues or what. I didn't know if it was since they're coming
Well,
from Canada.
so Roslovic might be different though, because from my understanding, he was holding out and he was still in Ohio because he's a Columbus kid.
Okay.
So he may be in the lineup, but I think Laine's still got a border hop. So I imagine
Okay.
he'll still be in quarantine. Um, I'm still shocked by that trade. I think Winnipeg is getting raped in that deal, um, which is weird because most people seem to think that uh, Pierre-Luc Dubois is the better player. Like, I was seeing some of the trade scenarios, and you would think that Wayne Gretzky was getting dealt. Um, but I mean, Laine is a pure goal scorer, which is something that Columbus desperately needed, and they're getting another depth forward with it. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Dubois hasn't put up more than 50 points but once in his career in 3 seasons, and
Yeah,
was
I'm sure that's probably just what. I mean, obviously Dubois didn't get along with Tortorella, and so who knows? But maybe it's just a change of scenery for both guys can reignite their fire. I don't know. That would be my guess for this trade, but it's
well.
just
It reminds me of Matt Duchene, who, I mean, we looked at tonight, and like, you look at when he was dealt out of Colorado to Ottawa, he kind of stunk up the joint, and then
yeah,
he hasn't really done much. I mean, he went to Columbus for what, a month.
yeah,
Now he's in Nashville, as we saw him these last couple games, and Obviously, well, he had the game winner tonight, right, in the shootout, but
Yeah.
um, I haven't seen much out of him, honestly, in terms of 5-on-5 play. But so it just reminds me of that situation, which I don't think has ended the way Matt Duchene wanted it to. But um, with that in mind, is there anything that you want to see changed lineup wise, or
I mean, it's like I said, these two games I've liked, our effort, but it's just how do we, I think the key is for Colleton is you got to find a way to generate, more offense. I mean, only 2 goals, Tuesday, 1 goal tonight. So, since, what the last we put up, obviously 10 goals against the Red Wings, but,
that's the Red Wings?
right, it's the Red Wings. So we got to try to find a way to generate offense against other teams. So, I mean, do you roll with 7 defensemen again? Um, I don't know. Maybe, but I guess it all depends on, what kind of lineup Columbus is going to put out there, and maybe judge it on that. But
I mean,
um,
honestly, look, I think like I'm beating a dead horse. I want Kalanick in the goddamn lineup. Like, I, I'm glad Bodan finally played because he is a part of the future, at least prospect wise. Um, but Kalanick's 23 years old. He was the top NCAA free agent. You promised him a shot to play. Play the guy, at
right.
least for one game. So,
Yeah,
one
I'm interested to see when he's going to get into the lineup. I don't
yeah,
know.
it's like he pissed on Colleton's dog or something. It's just all those games that Boquist was absolutely shit in the bed over and over again. And, now Boquist is out and the first 2 games, Kalanick doesn't get a sniff either. It's weird.
Yeah.
Um, but so, you know, leave take one of them out and then put Kalanick in and roll with the 7 defensemen again. But then I would take like Soderberg out and I'd put Peary in or something because you need to do something with your top 6 to get some offense. So if you took like Soderberg out, I mean you've got plenty of guys that could take faceoffs: Camp, Shaw, Yanmark, Strome, Carpenter, even Suter's been taking draws with Kane, obviously. So I wouldn't. It seems like the only thing Soderberg has really been doing, we kind of mentioned it, it's 63% of the dot tonight. But again, I don't know how many faceoffs he actually took. Um, say 7 or 8 that he won, maybe. Um, so are you sacrificing maybe a faceoff or two to get a guy that can put the puck in the net with Peary? So I mean that's something I guess I'd look at. I obviously I think we both would put Lankinen in net. Um, will they? I don't know. Like
Yeah, I would think they're going to probably, I would imagine you roll with him Friday and see how he does Friday, and then
maybe
go,
Delia Saturday.
yeah, Delia or Subban on Sunday. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, but um, but yeah, that's kind of what I mean, and hopefully, like I said, we if this power play continue. I mean, obviously we didn't score tonight, so that the streak is done. But I just hope this power play can still stay, as hot as it's been, because that's, like you said, that's important. That's how we're gonna, special teams is gonna play a big part in our success this year.
Yeah. So do you agree with me then? Would you roll with the 7 defense again, or would you take one of them out and add Peary and keep Soderberg in?
Yeah, maybe I'd see, how it worked. They rolled with it tonight. It seemed to work okay, but maybe, maybe change it up. And I'd like to see, like I agree with you. I'd like to see more offensive production. So to maybe try to get more offense in there, I would change it up maybe for Friday's game, and then see how it goes. And if it doesn't go well, then maybe you go back to 7 defensemen for Sunday. So
Okay. Well, that's going to wrap this up. And obviously, everybody, as I've been saying, there's a lot going on with COVID and everything. So please stay safe, stay healthy. Um, Obviously, a recap: the Blackhawks fell to Nashville again tonight by a score of 2-1 in a shootout. Matt Duchene had the only goal in the shootout to give the Predators the victory. And until this Friday, when the Chicago Blackhawks play Game 9, can't believe it's already been 9 games already of this shortened COVID season, where they play the Columbus Blue Jackets. We will talk to you all soon. And until then, go Hawks.
All right, go Hawks. Thanks again, everybody.